Hey everyone, this is meteorologist Brad Sugden. I'm decided to do a little bit of a video update for you on the 11 p.m. advisory on Hurricane Milton. And this is Monday, October 7th at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. This is 10 p.m. Central Time. So right now we do have a catastrophic hurricane out there. Category 5, we got the recent update, and yeah, wind speeds have come down a little bit, but it will fluctuate. It'll go up and down. We had 2 updates in a row of 180 mile per hour sustained winds. Now we're looking at 165, but at this point we're really splitting hairs. So I definitely want to take a look in this a little more in depth for you. The National Hurricane Center has a lot of different products on their website that are great, but something that I want to point out here, which is the storm surge. Now, the surge has been upgraded a little bit since earlier today, and that's taken into account a stronger hurricane, lower pressure, sucks more water up in there, same thing, but also it's got to depend on which side of the storm you're on, and if the track takes it slightly north of Tampa, which is what it looks like is a good possibility, that would bring the highest surge right up into Tampa. So as you can see, 10 to 15 feet, that is definitely not what you want to hear. In fact, a lot of the storm surge graphics online only go up to 9 feet, if that says anything. So this is definitely going to be a lot to handle. This is something that's not survivable along the coastline, so that's why folks are fleeing. If you know anyone under a mandatory evacuation, they have got to get out of harm's way. This is something that, again, is just incredibly serious, needs to be taken seriously, and there's just a lot going on with this storm. So also, the key messages being put out are that this is going to be life-threatening conditions for the Florida Peninsula, and again, specifically around Tampa. Now, the storm is expected to grow in spatial size. Right now, it is a very compact storm. Hurricane force winds are only 30 miles out from the center, so really, that's kind of ideal if it was going to make landfall like that, because not a huge area would be impacted. However, that is expected to grow, and then it would impact more people upon the point where it is going to make landfall. So right now you can see that this thing means business. It is spiraling like crazy. We got a tiny, tiny little eye in there. We're talking like 5 miles in diameter. That is about it. But again, it went from nothing to a Category 5 hurricane, and it's expected to maintain that strength for a little while. So there's also this site called Tropical Tidbits, and this is a great place to play around, but you kind of got to know what you're looking at as well. I do want to point out the hurricane intensity here, though, from the model. So as you can see, we are looking at the possibility for some of the models to maintain Category 5 strength all the way up until landfall. So that's something that wasn't showing 12 hours ago. It was on a downward trend. Now, as you can see, a majority of those models are on a downward trend. We are looking for it to head into an environment with some shear, but the problem is when a storm is like this, when it is this strong, it can kind of, it takes a lot more of an influence to impact it. So the shear might not have the impact that it would if it was weaker. So, imagine like if you're already hurting, like if you hurt your arm or something, someone pushes you, you're like, ugh, just like fall over. But if you don't have any pain in you and someone pushes you, you're like, whoa, shake it off, right? So imagine the hurricane stronger, someone gives it a nudge, it's not going to react very much, but if it was weaker, you give it a nudge and it kind of falls apart. So that's what we're looking for here. And again, it's just saying that it could likely maintain some of the strength that it is seeing right now. So something else I want to show you here is the European model. I will zoom it in a little bit more for you. And this has been pretty consistent with the track of the storm. This is the absolute worst case scenario right here. And that's why I want to just make sure everyone is aware that we could potentially be looking at worst case scenario for Tampa. So this is going to be slightly north of the city, and if you can imagine that counterclockwise spin, that funnels water and funnels wind right up the Tampa Bay, and that's what's going to cause the really accelerated surge. So the surge, when it's funneled into a point, is going to be more drastic than if it was just broad over large areas. So that's why the Tampa Bay could see the biggest surge compared to other areas. But we'll take a look at a couple other models here. We'll look at the GFS. This one, again, has it pretty much right over Tampa itself. You can tell that eye is getting bigger and the radii of the wind is getting a little bit bigger as well. But we also have hurricane-specific models, and these are fun to take a look at because, it's just some different conditions, but the hurricane models are specific to, obviously, hurricanes. So right now, as you can see, this is the HAFSA version, and this has really, funneling storm surge up into Tampa as well. We'll take a look at the B version here, and this is a little more broad, and this one is just ever so slightly further south where the surge might not be that big of a deal, but it's still going to be a direct hit with the wind speeds on Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater Beach, and then eventually over into Lakeland, Orlando, areas like that. So there's going to be wind damage from this thing a lot. And then also I want to show you that as we go out here, we also have some very high winds that are going to be coming on the north side, so northeast one into the Jacksonville area, Daytona perhaps, so we could be looking at a little bit of a surge over there as well. Not Category 5 hurricane strength, but definitely enough that we would just have to look out for the east side of the peninsula as well. Here's the HWRF. This is a pretty famous hurricane model, and this one is spelling absolute worst case disaster for Tampa. The positioning of this thing, again, look at the swirl around it, right? Counterclockwise, swirling around. That funnels water and funnels wind up into the Tampa Bay, and that is going to cause some major issues. I just want to show you one more here really quick. This is the HMON, and this one also is putting Tampa right in the crosshairs of the worst of the worst. Now, I'm really going to be curious to see what happens when this gets into the short range model versions here. And again, these are just models, okay? We have to have the human aspect here. The human aspect was, we know this hurricane is going to be super strong. All the models were lagging behind. They were showing like, oh, Cat 2, maybe a Category 3. Well, we're like, no, you know, the National Hurricane Center did a great job as well. They were ahead of the models this time. That's why the human aspect is so important. Please don't go off pure model data. Even though I'm showing it to you now, it's just to get an idea of what might happen. This one, this is the NAM, has it ever so slightly south of Tampa, but that would be an offshore wind. Could potentially like drain the Tampa Bay again, like we saw a while back, but that would be a preferred track with that one. We got a different version of the NAM, which is following, pretty much the same track. This one's slightly further off to the north as well. And it's just not really in range of the other short-term models that we would like to see. But another one is the AI version of the European model. And this one, as you can see, has the track slightly further south as well. I'll be curious to see how this one performs, with the AI helping us out in weather forecasting and stuff like that. But once again, I want to show you this roaring hurricane. It is absolutely crazy, devastating out there. We're going to have a lot of impacts regardless of exactly how strong it is. We're going to have storm surge. We are going to have high winds. The wording in this is literally life-threatening. And if the worst case scenario happens for Tampa Bay and Clearwater and St. Pete and Tampa itself, like Katrina and like other major hurricanes, we are talking like areas that would be uninhabitable for weeks after this thing passes. It's not going to be a short-term fix when it hits a metropolitan area like that. So that's it. It's a long video update. I do apologize, but please be safe. If you know people in the area, I'm seeing gridlock on the roads leaving Tampa. That is good. I wish it would flow a little smoother, but that means a lot of people are leaving. If you know anyone in that area, they have got to go. They have to. There is no arguing this. You cannot argue 15 feet of water and 165 mile per hour winds. It might not be that bad. You say that to the storm outside. Go for it and see how it works out for you. Tell them to leave, please.